The great hall was filled with noise. Thousands of creatures from across the galaxy sat in their seats, talking in their own languages. Some looked like giant insects, others like floating jellyfish, and many had shapes that would make no sense. 2 human eyes. But today, they were all scared. Ambassador Zeftar stood at the center of the room. His forearms shook as he held the speech papers. His insect-like head moved left and right, looking at all the different species around him. The Valkyrie had never asked for help before. They had always been the strong ones, the ones who took what they wanted from weaker planets. The Devourers have destroyed our outer colonies, Zeftar said through the translation machine. Is real? The voice sounded like clicking and buzzing, but the machine turned it into words everyone could understand. Our warships are broken. Our people are running away. We need help from anyone who will give it. The room became quiet. Every creature stopped talking. The Valkyrie were asking for help. This had never happened before. The Devourers had come from the edge of the galaxy 6 months ago. Nobody knew where they came from or what they wanted. They just ate everything. Whole planets became empty rocks after they passed through. Billions of living things died. Devourers did not talk, did not make deals, did not stop. They just consumed everything in their path and moved to the next world. Chancellor Mordic of the Thraxian Empire stood up. He was tall and had 4 arms like a mantis. His red eyes glowed with anger. The Valkyrie said no to our trade deals for hundreds of years. They called us weak. Why should we risk our ships to help them now? Leaders began to stand up and speak. The blue-skinned aquatic collective remembered when the Valkyrie had stolen their water worlds. The crystal beings of the Silicon Syndicate had not forgotten the mining wars. The psionic hegemony still felt angry about the Mindshield conflicts. Ambassador, Zeftar's swings buzzed with worry. If we die, they will come for you next. These things eat all life. We put away our pride and ask for help. But the talking went on for hours. The big powers of the galaxy argued about money and old fights. The Crystalline Concordat said they needed their ships to protect their own worlds. The Peaceful Worlds Alliance said they had no weapons to fight with. United Federations claimed they were too far away to help in time. Hours passed. The sun outside the Great Hall began to set. Still, no one agreed to help. The Valkyrie had made too many enemies when they were strong. Now that they were weak, nobody wanted to save them. Ambassador Zeftar felt his hope dying. His people were being eaten alive on 12 different worlds. The Devourer fleet was moving toward their home planet. In 2 weeks, maybe less, the Valkyrie would be gone forever. We understand, Zeftar said finally. His voice was quiet now. We were not good neighbors. We took what we wanted and gave nothing back. But these creatures will not stop with us. They will eat everything. The hall stayed quiet. Some creatures looked down at their hands or claws or tentacles. They felt bad, but not bad enough to risk their own people. Zeftar made a choice that would change everything. We will send a message to all of space. Maybe someone we have never met will help us. Maybe someone out there is braver than the great powers of this council. The other ambassadors looked at each other. Sending messages to unknown space was dangerous. What if something worse than the Devourers heard the call and came to the galaxy? But Zeftar was past caring about dangers. His people were dying. We will broadcast on all frequencies. We will tell everyone our location and what is happening. If the great civilizations will not help us, maybe others will. The message was sent that same day. It's the strongest communication system in Valkyrie space. Pushed the signal as far as it could reach. It was a simple message that said where they were, what was attacking them, and a request for help from anyone listening. The signal traveled through space at the speed of light. It passed dead solar systems and empty space. It went by planets. With no life and gas clouds that had never seen a living thing, the message moved further and further from the center of the galaxy, toward the quiet edges where no one thought anything important lived. The Valkyrie did not know that their signal had reached a small yellow star with 9 planets around it. They did not know that the 3rd planet from that star had life on it. They did not know that the life on that planet had been listening to galaxy radio signals for many years. The planet was called Earth. The creatures on it called themselves Humans. The humans had been watching the galaxy for a long time. They had learned the main languages. They had studied the politics and the wars. They knew about the great powers and the small planets, but they had never made contact. They wanted to learn first before they said hello. The human governments had built secret listening posts on the moon and in space. They recorded everything they heard from the galaxy. They learned about trade deals and peace treaties. They studied the technology and the cultures. They knew more about galactic civilization than most species who lived in it. When the Valkyrie message reached Earth, it was picked up by Luna Station, a hidden base on the far side of the moon. The computers worked all night to translate the alien words. By morning, the humans understood exactly what was happening. The Devourers were real. They were coming, and they were headed toward Earth's part of the galaxy. The message was sent to world leaders immediately, presidents and Prime. Ministers read the translation with growing fear. The first contact with alien life was not going to be peaceful trade or scientific exchange. It was going to be about survival, but the humans had something the other species did not have. They'd spent their entire history fighting. Every human alive was descended from creatures who had survived by being better at war than everything else on their planet. While the galaxy had grown peaceful and safe, humans had never stopped preparing for the next fight. The decision was made quickly. Earth would answer the call for help. It's not because they liked the Valkyrie, but because they understood what would happen if the Devourers were not stopped. The human race would be next on the menu. Ships that had been built in secret for decades were made ready. Weapons that had never been tested in real war were loaded and checked. Soldiers who had trained for battles they thought would never come were told to get ready for the fight of their lives. The humans were going to space. They were going to make contact with alien civilizations. And they were going to do it by saving the galaxy from something that wanted to eat everything alive. The Valkyrie message had traveled across the galaxy asking for help. What answered that call was going to change everything. The humans were coming, and they were very good at war. In the Valkyrie system, Ambassador Zefter waited by the communication equipment. 3 days had passed since the message was sent. No one had answered. The Devourer fleet was getting closer. Soon, his people would be gone. And the galaxy would learn too late that some threats could not be ignored but far away. In a part of space the galaxy had never bothered to explore, ships were moving. The humans were coming to help. When they arrived, everyone would understand that the most dangerous species in the galaxy had just announced itself to the stars. Commander Jake Martinez stood in the communication center of Luna Station, staring at the screens that showed signals from across the galaxy. The hidden base on the far side of the moon had been listening to alien radio waves for 20 years. Today, they had received something different. Something that made his hands shake as he read the translation. "Are you sure this is right?" Jake asked Lieutenant Amy Roberts, who ran the language computer systems. "Check it again." Amy's fingers moved fast across her keyboard. Numbers and alien words filled her screen. "I have checked it 5 times, sir. The translation is correct. These creatures called Devourers have eaten 14 whole solar systems in 6 months. That means billions of people are dead." Jake looked at the star map on the big screen. Red dots showed where the Devourers had attacked. The pattern was clear. They were moving toward Earth's part of the galaxy. If they kept going the same way, they would reach human space in less than 2 years. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Jake ordered, "and call the President. She needs to know about this right now." A secure communication system connected Luna Station to the most important people on Earth. Within 1 hour, the most secret meeting in human history was happening. In the White House Situation Room, President Lisa Thompson sat at a long table surrounded by generals, scientists, and advisors. The room had no windows. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and alien language translations. Everyone in the room knew that this day would change everything. "Let me make sure I understand this," President Thompson said slowly. "We just found out that we are not alone in the universe. There are thousands of alien species out there, and the first thing we learn is that something is eating them all." General Bob Turner, the top military leader, leaned forward. "Yes, ma'am. Our deep space sensors confirm what the aliens are saying. These Devourers are real. They destroy everything alive on the planets they visit, and they are moving toward us." Dr. Helen Carter, the country's best expert on alien life, spoke up. We need to think about why humans might be different from these other species. Our whole evolution has been about fighting and surviving. We are predators. Most of these alien species seem to be peaceful. You think we should help them? The president asked. I think we might be the only ones who can help them, Dr. Carter replied. From what we can tell, these other species have not had to fight for survival like we have. They reached the stars through cooperation and peace. We reached the stars by building weapons and learning to fight. Admiral Chris Webb, head of the Space Force, turned on the tactical displays. We have been preparing for space wars for 50 years. Our fleet is small, but our ships are built to fight. If we move fast, we can get to this Valkyrie system with a battle group. President Thompson stood up and walked to the star map. The red dots showing devourer attacks looked like a disease spreading across the galaxy. What do we know about these aliens who sent the message? The Valkyrie are not nice people, said Director Janet Stone from the intelligence agency. From what we have heard in their radio signals, they are conquerors. They have attacked other species and taken their planets. Most of the galaxy does. Not like them. But they are asking for help, President Thompson said. And if these devourers are not stopped, everyone dies, including us. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone understood what was being discussed. Humanity's first contact with alien civilizations would not be peaceful exploration. It would be war. General Turner spoke first. Ma'am, we have 12. Of our newest ships ready to go, they are fast and well-armed. Each ship has 500 crew members. We can be ready to launch in 48 hours. What about the other countries? President Thompson asked. We cannot make this decision for all of humanity. We have already talked to the leaders of China, Russia, and the European Union, said Secretary of State Paul Wilson. They agree that this is too important to wait for long discussions. They are sending their best ships to join our fleet. Dr. Carter pulled up information about the devourers on her tablet. Based on the alien reports, these creatures are some kind of hive mind. They work together like ants or bees. They have no individual thinking. They just consume and move on to the next target. How do we fight something like that? Asked the president. The same way we have always fought, General Turner replied. We use our brains. We adapt. We find their weaknesses and exploit them. The other alien species seem to have one way of fighting. We have hundreds of ways. Admiral Webb showed pictures of the human warships. Our vessels are different from alien ships. They use energy weapons, lasers, and plasma cannons. We use kinetic weapons, railguns, and missiles. Throw chunks of metal at very high speeds. It is hard to defend against. There is something else, Dr. Carter added. These aliens have been peaceful for so long that they have forgotten how to be violent. Humans have never forgotten. We have been fighting wars for our entire history. We know how to kill things that want to kill us. President Thompson looked around the room at all the faces staring at her. The decisions she made in the next few minutes would affect the future of humanity and maybe the whole galaxy. How long do we have? She asked. The devourers will reach the Valkyrie homeworld in 12 days, Admiral Webb replied. We can get there in 10 days if we push our engines hard. And if we do nothing, then the devourers keep eating solar systems until they reach Earth, General Turner said. We can try to fight them alone when they get here, or we can fight them now with allies. The president walked back to her chair and sat down. She looked at the star map one more time. The red dots of destruction were moving closer to the small yellow dot that represented Earth. We answer their call for help, she decided, but we do this the human way. We go there to fight, not to make friends. If we save them, maybe they will help us prepare for what comes next. The room erupted in activity. Generals started calling their commanders. Scientists began calculating fuel and supply needs. Diplomats started writing first contact protocols. Admiral Webb stood up. I will command the fleet personally, we call it Task Force Salvation. 12 ships, 6,000 crew members, and enough firepower to level a moon. What do we tell the rest of the world? Asked Secretary Wilson. The truth, President Thompson replied. We are not alone. There are threats out there that want to destroy all life. Humanity is going to fight back. within hours. The news was broadcast to every country on Earth. The reaction was panic, then wonder, then determination. Humanity had always known. This day might come, the day when they would have to prove they deserved to survive among the stars. The 12 ships of task. Forced salvation launched from hidden bases around the solar system. They were sleek and dangerous, built for war in the dark between stars. Each ship carried the best weapons humans had ever made, and crews trained for battles they hoped would never come, as the fleet jumped too faster than light speed. Ding. Toward the Valkyrie system, President Thompson made one final announcement to the world. Today, humanity takes its place among the stars. We go not as conquerors, but as defenders. We go to show the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for. And we go to prove that when the universe asks for help, humans will answer.
Oh, the fleet
Disappeared into the darkness of space, carrying humanity's hopes and fears toward their first meeting with alien civilizations. Behind them, Earth continued to spin in its orbit around the sun. No longer alone in the universe, but still home to the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. The Valkyrie had sent a message asking for help. What was coming to answer that call would change everything. Captain Don Phillips stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance watching the alien space station grow bigger on his screen. The massive structure looked like a flower made of metal and crystal, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Smaller, ships moved around it like insects around a bright light. "Captain," said Communications Officer Lisa Grant, "we are receiving a signal from the station. They want to know if they can come aboard our ship." Don nodded. "Tell them yes." Meeting room. 2. Get the translation computers ready. He turned to his weapons officer. "Commander Ryan Brooks, what is the status of our fleet?" "All 12 ships are ready, sir. The aliens have given us detailed information about the Devourers. They will be here in 3 days." Don had been preparing for this moment during the 10-day journey from Earth, first contact with alien life. The training manuals said it should be about science and peaceful exploration. Instead, they were here to fight a war. 2 hours later, Dan walked into the meeting room. What he saw there would stay with him forever. 6 different types of alien creatures sat around a table that had been specially built for this meeting. Ambassador Zephyr looked like a giant praying mantis with 4 arms and wings that buzzed when he was nervous. Next to him sat a blue-skinned creature that breathed through gills and smelled like the ocean. Across from them was something that looked like a walking crystal formation that sparkled when it moved. "Welcome, humans," Zephyr said through his translation device. "We cannot believe you came. We thought we would die alone."
Oh.
Dan sat down carefully. The chair had been adjusted for human height, but everything else in the room was built for creatures, much different from humans. "We came because we understand what these Devourers represent. They are a threat to all life." The crystal being, who introduced himself as Resonance of the Silicon Syndicate, made a sound like wind chimes. "Your species achieved space travel without any contact with galactic civilization. This is unprecedented. Your technology is very different from ours." Colonel Kate Martinez, the ground forces commander, studied the tactical displays the aliens had brought. "Your people fight with energy weapons. Lasers, plasma cannons, ion beams. Very advanced, but these Devourers seem to adapt to energy patterns quickly." "Yes," confirmed the blue creature, Commander Depth of the Aquatic Collective. "Our most powerful weapons become useless after a few hours of fighting. The Devourers learn to resist them." Dan smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Humans took a different path. Our weapons are kinetic. "We throw things at our enemies very hard and very fast. Railguns, mass drivers, explosive missiles. It is hard to adapt to a piece of metal hitting you at half the speed of light." The aliens looked at each other with confusion. The idea of throwing solid objects in space battles was completely foreign to them. Their wars, when they had them, were fought with elegant energy weapons at long range. "There is something else you should know," Dan continued. "Your species seem to view war as the last choice when everything else fails. We respect that. But these Devourers are not interested in talking. They are predators. And humanity has spent millions of years learning how to kill predators." Dr. Alina Vasquez, the The fleet's alien life expert activated her computer display. Based on your descriptions, the Devourers are a hive mind focused on eating and growing. They have never met. Organized resistance from a species that evolved specifically to hunt dangerous creatures. Over the next day, human commanders worked with their alien counterparts to develop a battle plan. It was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The aliens were used to large formations moving together, firing coordinated energy bursts at distant targets. The humans preferred to spread out, move fast, and hit the enemy from unexpected angles. Your battle tactics are very aggressive, observed General Wingstorm of the Avian Dominion. A creature that looked like a 6-foot-tall eagle with hands instead of talons? You seek to engage the enemy at close range. We fight to win, replied Colonel Martinez. The Devourers want to consume everything. We want to stop them. There is no middle ground. The plan that emerged was bold and dangerous. Instead of trying to stop the Devourers before they entered the system, they would let them come close to the planet. Then the human ships would cut off their escape route, while the alien fleets evacuated civilians and provided support. Is very risky, said Ambassador Zefter. If your plan fails, our homeworld will be destroyed. If we fight them the way everyone else has fought them, we will definitely lose, Dan replied. But if we fight them our way, we might win. And winning is better than dying slowly. The humans had brought something else that amazed the aliens. Each human ship carried automated weapons platforms that could be deployed in space. These platforms would continue fighting even if the ships were destroyed or damaged. You prepare for your own defeat, observed Resonance. This suggests you expect to lose many battles. We prepare for every possibility, explained Commander Brooks. Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hope to win easily, but we prepare to keep fighting, even if everything goes wrong. The aliens had never seen anything like human military thinking. They planned for victory and were confused when it did not come. Humans planned for disaster and were pleased when it was avoided. As the meeting continued, the aliens shared more information about the Devourers. They were biomechanical creatures that seemed to be part machine and part living tissue. They traveled in large groups and communicated through some kind of shared mind. When they found a planet with life, they would land and begin consuming everything organic. They try to board our ships, explained Commander Depth. They attach to the hull and eat through it. Then they come inside and consume the crew. No species has ever successfully fought off a boarding action? Colonel Martinez looked interested. What happens when they board a ship? They release small creatures that overwhelm the defenders. The creatures establish a mental link with the main force and coordinate their attacks. It is impossible to resist. Has anyone ever tried fighting them in close combat? Aliens looked confused. Fighting them inside a ship, that would be suicide. They are designed to consume living tissue. Kate smiled. They have never tried to board a ship full of humans. We have been fighting things that want to eat us for our entire evolutionary history. Marines, prepare for close quarters combat. The final element of the plan involves something the aliens had never considered. The humans would not just fight the Devourers in space. If any of the creatures made it to the planet's surface, human ground forces would hunt them down. Would fight them on the ground, asked General Wingstorm. In their preferred environment? Every environment is our preferred environment, replied Colonel Martinez. We evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill us. We learned to adapt, to hunt, to fight in any conditions. These Devourers may be tough, but they have never faced human soldiers. As the meeting ended, Captain Phillips made a ship-wide announcement. This is it, people. First contact with alien civilizations, and we are going to make it memorable. These creatures have been eating their way across the galaxy for months. Tomorrow, they find out what happens when they try to eat. Something that bites back. The alien delegates returned to their ships with mixed feelings. They were grateful for human help, but they were also frightened by human attitudes toward war. The humans seemed to actually enjoy the prospect of fighting. Ambassador Zefter sent a message to what remained of the Galactic Council. The humans have arrived. They are unlike anything we have ever encountered. They do not fear the Devourers. They are eager to fight them. I believe we may have found our salvation, but I also believe the galaxy will never be the same. As the combined fleet prepared for battle, the Devourer ships approached the edge of the system. Soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when an unstoppable force met an unmovable object. The Devourers had consumed 14 star systems without opposition. Tomorrow, they would meet humanity. The Devourer fleet came out of hyperspace like death itself. Hundreds of ships, each as big as a city, moved toward the Valkyrie homeworld with terrible purpose. Their hulls looked like they were grown instead of built, covered in pulsing veins. An organic armor that seemed to breathe. The sight of them made the defending alien fleet shake with fear. "Sweet Mother of God," whispered Lieutenant Tony Garcia as he watched the enemy formation on his screen aboard the UES Defiance. "There's so many of them." Captain Dan Phillips stood calm on the bridge, studying the enemy ships. He had seen the reports, but seeing the Devourers in person was different. They moved like a swarm of insects, perfectly coordinated, with no wasted motion. Each ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. "All ships, begin Battle Plan Apex," Don ordered over the fleet communication system. "Remember, we are not just fighting for the Valkyrie today. We are announcing to the galaxy that humanity has arrived." The human task force was tiny compared to the Devourer fleet. 12 ships against hundreds. The humans had advantages that the aliens could not understand. While the Valkyrie and their allies stayed in tight formations and fired their energy, weapons in careful patterns, the humans spread out and began a deadly dance. The UES Vengeance, commanded by Captain Maria Santos, struck first. Her ship's railgun batteries fired streams of tungsten rods at incredible speed. The metal projectiles hit the Devourer ships like bullets through paper, punching clean holes through their bioarmor. The creatures inside were torn apart by the impact. "Target their big ships," Phillips ordered. "Show them what human engineering can do." The human ships began launching their automated weapon platforms. These small, unmanned stations would keep fighting even if all the human ships were destroyed. Each platform carried dozens of guided missiles and smart computer systems to aim them. The Devourers responded quickly. They had been expecting energy weapons that they could adapt to. Instead, they were being hit by solid metal moving at speeds that tore through their defenses. Their bioships began changing, trying to grow thicker armor. But the human weapons just hit harder. Waves of smaller Devourer craft launched from the main ships. These fighter-sized creatures looked like flying bugs with razor-sharp claws and acid-spitting mouths. They swarmed toward the human fleet in clouds of thousands. Commander Ryan Brooks was ready for them. "Activating point defense systems," he announced. "All ships, prepare close-range weapons." The human ships suddenly bristled with defensive guns. Rapid-fire cannons, explosive shells, and interceptor missiles created a wall of destruction around each vessel. As the Devourer fighters flew into range, they hit a storm of metal and explosives that no living creature could survive. But the real surprise came when the Devourers tried their favorite tactic. Large bioships moved close to the human vessels, and extended tentacle-like appendages. These organic cables were designed to attach to enemy ships and allow boarding parties to enter. The Devourers had used this method to capture and consume hundreds of alien vessels. They had never tried to board a ship full of human marines. The first Devourer boarding pod attached to the hull of the UES Defiance with a wet, sucking sound. Acid began eating through the metal, creating an opening for the attackers to enter. Alarms rang throughout the ship as the crew prepared for invasion. Colonel Kate Martinez led the defense personally. She stood in the corridor near the breach point, wearing full combat armor and carrying weapons designed to kill dangerous things at close range. Behind her, 20 Marines took cover and aimed their rifles at the hole in the wall. "Here they come," shouted Sergeant Mike Turner as the first Devourer broke through. The creature looked like a cross between a spider and a shark, with 6 legs ending in razor claws and a mouthful of teeth like broken glass. It moved fast, trying to establish the mental link that had overwhelmed every other species. Kate shot it in the head with an explosive round. The creature's skull disappeared in a spray of alien blood and brain matter. "Welcome to Earth, you ugly piece of garbage," she said, reloading her weapon. More creatures poured through the breach. The aliens had been right about one thing. The Devourers were designed to overwhelm defenders with speed and numbers. But they had never faced humans who had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing things that wanted to kill them. Marines opened fire with everything they had: armor-piercing bullets, explosive grenades, and plasma cutters turned the corridor into a killing ground. The Devourers tried to establish their mental links, but human brains were different from alien brains. The connections failed, leaving the creatures confused and isolated. "They are trying to get into our heads," reported Corporal Lisa Chang over the combat radio, "but it is not working. He keeps trying the same thing over and over." "Killing them over and over," Kate replied, crushing a wounded devourer under her armored boot. "Marines, remember your training. These things are just another predator. We've been killing predators since we lived in caves." The battle raged through the ship's corridors for an hour. The Devourers had expected to quickly overwhelm the defenders and begin consuming the crew. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a maze of steel passages with humans who knew every trick of close combat fighting. Meanwhile, the space battle continued outside. The human ships moved like sharks through water, striking hard and fast before disappearing behind cover. Their kinetic weapons continued to tear through Devourer. Bioarmor that had protected them against every other species in the galaxy. Captain Santos on the EU's Vengeance had figured out the enemy's weakness. "Captain Phillips," she called over the radio, "these creatures adapt to damage patterns. Well, they cannot adapt fast enough to kinetic impacts. Every shot we fire hits harder than the last one." The tide of battle began to turn. The Devourers had expected another easy victory like all the others. Instead, they were losing ships faster than they could replace them. Their perfect coordination began to break down as human weapons destroyed their command vessels. Admiral Chris Webb, commanding the UES Defender, noticed something important. All ships target the large vessels in the center of their formation. "I think those are their brain ships. Cut off the head, and the body dies." The human fleet concentrated its fire on the massive bioships that seemed to be controlling the smaller vessels. Railgun rounds and explosive missiles hammered the organic command centers. When the first brain ship exploded, dozens of smaller Devourer craft suddenly stopped moving and began drifting in space. Back on the Defiance, Colonel Martinez received reports from all over the ship. "Boarding action repelled. Ma'am? It all Devourer. Creatures eliminated. We lost 3 Marines, but we killed over 100 of them." "Good work, people," Kate replied. "Now let us go help our friends outside." The space battle was reaching its climax. The Devourers had lost more than half their fleet, and their perfect coordination was falling apart. Ships that had moved like parts of a single organism now acted like confused animals, bumping into each other and firing in random directions. Captain Phillips saw the opportunity. "All ships, final attack formation. Let us finish this." The 12 human vessels charged directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. At close range, their weapons were devastatingly effective. Railguns punched through multiple targets with single shots. Missiles found gaps in bioarmor and exploded inside vital organs. Automated weapon platforms continued their deadly work, firing from all directions. The last Devourer command ship tried to retreat, but Captain Santos was waiting for it. The EU's Vengeance fired a full broadside of tungsten rods directly into the creature's brain center. The massive bioship convulsed once and died, taking the last of the enemy coordination with it. Suddenly, the space around the planet was quiet. Pieces of destroyed Devourer ships drifted in the vacuum, slowly cooling from bio-warm to space cold. The great fleet that had consumed 14 star systems was gone. Defeated by 12 human ships and 6,000 human crew members, the galaxy-wide communication channels exploded with chatter. Every species with a radio had been listening to the battle. The impossible had happened. Devourers had been stopped, and it was the unknown humans who had done it. Ambassador Zephyros' message to the Galactic Council was simple and shocked. "The humans have saved us. But more than that, they have proven the Devourers can be beaten. The galaxy has hope again." 6 months after the Battle of Valkyrie Prime, the Galactic Council met for the most important session in its history. The Great Chamber had been rebuilt to include a new section for the human delegation. Representatives from 1,000 species looked toward the center of the room where President Lisa Thompson stood at the speaker's platform. The translation systems had been upgraded to handle human languages perfectly. Lisa's words would reach every corner of known space, carried by communication networks that spanned the galaxy.
6 months
ago, your people faced total destruction, Lisa began. Today, the Devourer threat has been eliminated from 23 star systems. Human-led battle groups, working with your fleets, have developed new ways of fighting that work against this enemy. The results had been amazing. Joint human-alien fleets had not only stopped the Devourer advance, but had begun taking back lost territory. The combination of human fighting tactics and alien technology had created a war machine unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. General Bob Turner, now Supreme Commander of the Allied Defense Forces, stood at a tactical display showing. The recent victories, the Devourers are not impossible to beat. They are a hive mind that evolved to consume species that had become peaceful. When they face organized, aggressive resistance, their advantages become weaknesses. The alien delegates listened with fascination and fear. The humans had changed everything about galactic warfare in just 6 months. Energy weapons were being replaced with kinetic cannons. Defensive formations were being abandoned for aggressive attack patterns. Most shocking of all, alien soldiers were being trained in close combat fighting. Dr. Helen Carter had spent the months since first contact studying captured Devourer specimens. They are essentially a biological weapon designed to destroy civilizations that had moved beyond natural selection. But humanity never stopped being predators. It never became completely peaceful. The political changes were enormous. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were now asking Earth for military advice. The Thraxian Empire had requested permanent human military instructors. The Aquatic Collective wanted to buy human weapons. The psionic hegemony was trying to learn human battle tactics. Chancellor Mordic of the Thraxians spoke for many when he addressed the council. We reached the stars through cooperation and wisdom. The humans reached them through struggle and war. Perhaps the galaxy needs both ways of thinking to survive what is coming. But not everyone was happy with the changes. The Crystalline Concordat had withdrawn from several joint operations, worried about human aggressive tendencies. Their representative, a being that looked like living diamond, spoke with concern. The humans are effective fighters, but they enjoy war too much. They speak of battle with pleasure. They prepare for conflicts that may never happen. We fear they may bring more violence to the galaxy, not less. The Peaceful Worlds Alliance had similar concerns. Their delegate, a flower-like creature that communicated through scent patterns, expressed worry about human influence on younger species. The humans teach that strength comes from the ability to destroy enemies. This is contrary to everything our civilization represents. Ambassador Zeftar, now serving as the Valkyrie's permanent representative to Earth, offered a different view. The humans did not seek to conquer us. They came when we called for help. They fought when we needed them to fight. Now they teach us to protect ourselves. They have given us not just victory, but the knowledge that we can win. President Thompson addressed these concerns directly. Humanity has no desire to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it, to contribute to it, to protect it. The Devourers were the first great threat, but they will not be the last. The galaxy must be ready for it, whatever comes next. The evidence supported her words. Human military advisors were teaching defensive tactics, not conquest strategies. Human weapons were being shared freely with allies. Human-led battle groups included ships from dozens of species, all working together under human command, but serving galactic interests. The final vote was historic. By a count of 847 species in favor and only 23 opposed, the Galactic Council voted to establish the Combined Defense Initiative. Earth would serve as the primary military coordinator for the galaxy. Humans would train defenders, share their fighting knowledge, and lead the battle against future threats. As the session ended, Admiral Dan Phillips, now commander of the 1st Galactic Fleet, reflected on how much had changed. The EU's Defiance was now flagship of a fleet that included vessels from dozens of worlds. all working together under human tactical leadership. Admiral, his aide, Commander Lisa Grant, approached with a smile. "We are receiving congratulations from across the galaxy. The Valkyrie have named their new colony ship after you. The Thraxians want to give you their highest military honor." Dan looked out at the stars through the observation window. 6 months ago, we were alone in the universe. Now we are leading a galactic civilization. Humanity certainly knows how to make an entrance. But the changes went deeper than just military cooperation. Human concepts were spreading throughout galactic culture. The idea of individual courage was replacing group consensus in many species. The concept of fighting for principles instead of just survival was taking root. Most significantly, the notion that some things were worth dying for was being accepted by species that had never understood sacrifice. The avian dominion had begun training their young in what they called human-style courage, was developing new weapons based on kinetic principles. Even the peaceful aquatic collective had established a warrior caste for the first time in their history, Colonel Kate Martinez, now Director of Galactic Combat Training, ran academies on 12 different worlds. Alien soldiers learned human fighting techniques, human weapons handling, and most importantly, attitudes toward warfare. The key is not just teaching them to fight, Kate explained to a group of human instructors. It is teaching them to want to win. Most of these species fight because they have to. We fight because we choose to. That makes all the difference. The changes were not just military. Human traders were introducing competitive business practices to species that had operated on cooperation for millennia. Human scientists were sharing research methods based on challenge and debate rather than consensus. Human artists were creating works that celebrated individual achievement alongside group harmony. Some species embraced these changes enthusiastically. The young of many races seemed particularly drawn to human ideas about personal responsibility and individual courage. But older generations often struggled with concepts that seemed to contradict everything their civilizations had taught them. Ambassador Zefter observed these changes with fascination. "The humans have not conquered us with weapons," he reported. "To the Valkyrie leadership, they have conquered us with ideas. Our young people want to be brave like humans. They want to fight for what they believe in, want to take risks and achieve great things." As the months passed, it became clear that humanity's impact on the galaxy would be permanent. The Devourers had been defeated, but the victory had cost the galaxy its innocence. Species that had been peaceful for thousands of years were learning to be warriors. Civilizations that had never known individual heroism were producing heroes. President Thompson, now serving as Earth's first galactic ambassador, understood the weight of responsibility this brought. "We have shown them that peaceful species can learn to fight. Now we must show them that warrior species can choose when not to fight." The plea for help had indeed shaken the galaxy to its core. The Valkyrie had asked for military assistance and received it. But what they had really received was a fundamental change in how galactic civilization thought about survival, courage, and the price of peace. The stars would never be the same. In the depths of space, new ships flew with mixed crews of humans and aliens, all learning from each other. The galaxy had learned to fight, and in learning to fight, it had learned that some things were worth fighting for. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as teachers of the most difficult lesson of all, that freedom and peace could only be preserved by those willing to defend them.